made do nyinara wa wura de wate asase aya tisu wa wura so ya bibi ato boase bara fom ebiase ni made do nyinara wa wura de wate when tisakatira suro darata na hawa gradi bo mane masa enso mu from isenya popon ave mani die wa hi sakatira suro darata na hawa gradi bo mane masa enso mu from isenya popon ave mani die wa hi ave fadi musu samu kada so ye adaso sikane brecha fadi anta fu adaso awradi samusi wanyangu poni wa mani die wa hini ajali mi mo from isanyangu poni afi mani die wa hini
Joe, what's here for another for you? Hopefully, radio no asugusu awuti you know. I said yeah, Debbie, no. You and your health, Jume Dino, and necessary. Namia Dum, Yasan, Asia, Ewoso. And that Diano, a very different format. So the Debbie, and then Society Abum Kakra. Naming say Yamia Aduma, and necessary Diano, a bay and Nijipa. And we say, Doctor, I'm here for different level cry. You want Yenianumbia, Omba boy, coronavirus period. Yebedi enkomo anase omba boy se ne be ya dusia ene ye ma no ebe hu aye no anti adofo amodika join program no menim se to social media ti dodo na edikan a join ye mo ma me 1 second pe na me kofa doctor ene ye nuan mo omba boy ojumedi ni so ye stream live e wo YouTube, Facebook, social media ni nyina akwa benyan obetim so akọ www.hopeforliferadio your website obenyan wo TV obetime so ati nka ye homa ni nyina so eguso enti ni nyina so bebia obetime tie modern Ghana e ho so ye hot life modern Ghana TV so obekọ adom na GTV ni nyina ho Hope for Life ye ho bi obenyan etime ncha wo kra ma me hwese de enioma esiko na afi yenkofa doctor ene abusiafo ni etime hye dwumedi na se doctor mbacha mo temenka
the pacho yete won kapa DJ.
That's right, doctor. And he said, I know. I'm saying, we will nip 1 or 2 people na minya who was screen this 20.
Okay. I'm saying, Naneje wani Grace. Mo wa here because he mo. Okay, Grace is there. Okay, Naneje is there. Okay. Yeah, everyone is there. Okay.
Lucy, name se minya fane to so na Angela.
Lucy. Me who Lucy?
Oh, sir, ene ma missy de mpacho.
Me who Lucy? Nanajewa, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Yo, doctor, Tiancha ho, Major na washa na family Angela na yenia bakuna kano atoso I think that less na me di o matoso Major ma no take you over
Mate. Yo, hello everyone. You know, thank you all so much for agreeing to actually be part of this program tonight. We know what is going on with COVID-19, and we know there's a lot going on, especially young people who are in school and now at home, having to learn via online learning. So I have 2 students on the line. I have an educator on the line. I also have a parent. And I have 2 students. So I am going to allow the first person to introduce herself, which would be my sister, who has 2 master's degrees. She has an MBA, and she also has an MSW. So she is a social worker, and she is an expert. I'll allow her to introduce herself. That's my younger sister. I'll allow her to introduce herself first.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and happy Sunday. So my name is Edwin Enchi. All the introductions have been done already, and Yes, it is COVID-19. 2020 that we'll never all forget. So anything we can do to help, we're here to assist and be intentional about what we're doing, not for yourself, but the community. So I'm glad I can help.
Thank you so much, Madeline. The next person is Angela. Angela, I'm not sure, but this is what I think. I think Angela is aspiring to be in politics, to be a diplomat, or get into law. I'm sure one of those things she's probably going to do it. So Angela, she's my mentee. I am her mentor, but she is a great lady. She is doing her undergrad right now. I will allow Angela to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Angela. I am a major in history and political science at the College of Worcester. Right now, I'm going to my last year, and I'm doing education at this point in time.
Okay, Angela, thank you so much. Now we have Grace. Grace is my niece. She has been an educator for years. Grace is actually working on her PhD as we speak. She has lots of experience in education. So we'll allow Grace to introduce herself as well. We can't hear you, Grace. Are you on mute?
Sorry, good evening, everyone. My name is Grace Amiel. I have been an educator for 11 years. I started off as a teacher, then I was school principal, and now I'm the director of special education at the District of Columbia, which is Capital City. So it's my pleasure to be here this evening.
Thank you so much, Grace. The next person I'm going to introduce is my own daughter, Manu, who is a PhD student at University of Pennsylvania. And I know she's aspiring to be she's going to do something great. I will allow Nana to introduce herself.
Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well, staying safe. My name is Angela, and as my mom said, I am studying technology and also working on a master's degree in statistics. And I ultimately hope to use my research on immigrant mental health to support policy making better laws for vulnerable.
Thank you, Nana. Thank you so much. At this time, we will have Lucy. Lucy is a parent. I believe she has Lucy. You have 5 children, right?
Yeah.
5. So Lucy is a parent. So she is right in the midst of this pandemic with 5 children to educate during the pandemic. So Lucy, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy Amwateng. I'm a parent, a mother of actually 5, and a professional teacher.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lucy. And then my niece, Eunice. Now, Eunice is now Mrs. Eunice Edubofor, which I knew her as Eunice Opoku, but she's not Mrs. Eunice Edubofor. She is also a social worker extraordinary, and so we'll allow Mrs. Eunice to introduce herself. And she recently had a baby, so she is a parent now.
Hello, everyone. As my auntie said, yes, my name is Eunice Edubofor, also known as Eunice Opoku. That will never go away. I'm currently based here in Columbus, Ohio, as a social worker. I'm licensed here in Ohio and in New York, where I spent most of my social worker career. I'm currently not working, as my aunt said, I'm on maternity leave, but prior work experience has been as a community mental health provider. Both here in Columbus and in Ohio. So I look forward to talking today and educating the community about current crisis.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. So my first question is going to go to Grace. So Grace, we've seen that the COVID-19, yes, sir. Yes, it's an echo. Where is it coming from? Is it me or?
Yeah, I think it's coming from your end.
From my end?
I think so.
Okay. Should I take it off my head?
it looked like somebody have a phone on the speaker or something. That's why. But go ahead. Doctor, go ahead.
I found out what helps with the echo is that you have to make one of the videos on the other laptop.
Oh, okay.
Hear the word of Yahuwah Elohim.
All right, doctor, go ahead. Doctor, we can't hear you.
No?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, we'll start with the first question. Grace, you're going to have the first question. How are you ensuring that all students have access to reliable, high-speed internet to continue their education?
We have the District of Columbia, and currently the mayor and the chancellor has been able to provide 100% of devices for all of our students. So every week, from Monday to Thursday, students and their parents are able to come to the school and get iPads and laptops to make sure that we are ready for this pandemic that's starting on March 13th. However, I guess you could talk about that later. It's hard when we're trying to get some students and transportation to come to the school to be able to have access to get the laptop.
Okay, thank you. The next question is going to go to my sister Nadlin. So, how have social workers been impacted by the pandemic at this point in time? Like, how have you all been impacted by the pandemic?
My fellow social worker is on maternity leave, so she's not quite experienced it yet. But I think the impact will not be felt for a while now. Because right now, I think all social workers feel like we're in autopilot. We're doing, we're referring, we're giving out, we're trying to figure out what the needs are. Because during these times, I think the biggest thing is trying to identify what people are looking for. And whom the people really are and what they need. So I think for now, the purpose, the first stage is just identification and trying to identify, even as with Grace, the families that need support, whether it be food or it be money or assistance or however it comes, it's just that identification process. So COVID is going to, I think mental health-wise, we're not going to feel the effects of it till probably another year or two, where we start hearing the mental health stories and the depression and all of those things that are going to come out of it. But right now, we're just trying to ensure people have the basic necessities.
Okay, thank you. All right, Eunice, I'm going to ask you, I know you're a fairly new social worker, but I'm sure you've heard a lot of things going on with people asking you questions. So how has the pandemic affected relationships?
Okay.
Because we're all home now.
Yes. So the pandemic has tremendously affected our community, homes, in several ways. Right now, as you know, we're not able to see family members as we would like to, go to work. Children are not able to play with their friends in the playground. I don't know if anyone has seen, like if you go to a park or anything, they've cautioned out all of the playgrounds and things like that. So it's really placed an impact. And even as Auntie Madeline was mentioning about how mental health will be, a lot of people have mental health issues, especially after this pandemic passed as well. We've also seen an increase of mental health issues now, especially with our young people. And I think we'll get into that more as we move on, but it definitely has been, there has been an increase, and it's going to continue to increase because we don't know what to expect.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to go to the student. I'm going to start with Nana because you're a graduate student. And I don't know how much, because a lot of grad students don't live on campus. A lot of you live off campus. And a lot of you live by yourselves. So how has this social distancing or social isolation had an impact on you as a student?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different living situations for graduate students. Some of us, like me, live alone. Other people have roommates. There are some people who live on campus and supervise undergraduates. I know they had some housing challenges. I think in terms of isolating alone, it really depends on your personality. I know for my extroverted people, it's very difficult to just be alone and not be able to see friends. I'm more introverted, so isolation wasn't actually that bad for me. I think I get to interact with people on my own terms, but I think something that's difficult is trying to be supportive to family and friends virtually. Sometimes it can get a little bit draining to always be on Zoom or always be on FaceTime. So I think something that I'm trying to work on is setting boundaries around communication with people to make sure that I'm still taking time for myself. So that's kind of what's been so far.
Okay, thank you so much, Nana. Angela, I'm going to ask you the same question as well. How has this social distancing or social isolation had an impact on you as a student?
It kind of just like turned the whole year upside down. For me personally, I was studying abroad this semester, and it kind of escalated rather quickly because that we were told to keep calm, everything is normal, and literally the next day they were like, you guys need to get out. And a lot of people had classes that were completely canceled and they were not able to get any credit for the time they spent abroad. Some of us were luckier. We were sent home, but we were able to work online. But then working on different time schedules was very hard because I was working on London time. So I had to make sure that I was still present in my online seminars, which would be at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., depending what time my seminars were. And speaking to my other friends who stayed in the country but still had to social distance, many of them had to return home. But then trying to really figure out time to do work, because a lot of times when you're in school, you know, okay, I got to do my work, I got to be at the library, but now you are home. So which time do you spend in leisure? Which time do you spend doing house chores? Because as much as we love our African parents, when we're home, they think time for you to do all the jobs you couldn't do while you were at school. And it's kind of hard to kind of navigate that and tell your parents like, hey, at this time, I cannot do this work because I have a paper due. And a lot of time my mom has tried to be understanding, but then she forgets that I have things due. So she'd be like, didn't you work on it yesterday? I was like, Mom, it takes more than one day to finish a paper. So just trying to, time management is a huge thing, trying to manage distractions. Because again, back in school, you can kind of escape from everything and kind of just like work on it. But then you have so many different things, and then social media is a huge thing. So like just trying to time manage and just focus is hard.
Okay. We love you too. African parents, we love you too. So we're going to take this to our sister Lucy. So Lucy has 5 children. And I just need to find out from you, my sister, how are you coping with this social distancing right now that your children are home and have to do online education, and you also have to help them do their work? How are you coping?
Okay, so with this whole COVID-19 situation, it's kind of hard, but as a mother and working mother too, I have to combine both of them. So one major thing that I still do is routine. Even though they are not going to school, I make sure that we follow the same routine that we do whilst they go to school. So the time they wake up is the same thing, and I make sure they go to bed early. Some people will be like, hey, there's no school, so why don't you let them like sit down for a while, an hour or two later, so that they can enjoy it. You're not going anywhere. I say no, because with kids, you have to keep them like stay in the routine. So they go to bed the same time, and then in the morning I wake them up. Hey, you got to get ready for school, and you're not gonna go to school in your pajamas. So that is how I do it, the routine. So you have to wake up, use the bathroom, get ready, get set, and you sit by your computer, because I got other things to do. Do I need to work too? I'm working for now to make sure they are on time. And so that is what I do. Like the basic thing is routine. So we do everything that we do before this coronavirus came in. So that is what I do. Get them ready, sit on the computer, wait for your teacher. Because if you leave them like, hey, you can just get up from bed and sit there, it doesn't. The readiness is not there. So I make sure they are early on time, the same time like they're going to school, so that the mental readiness will be there for learning. They would be ready for learning. That's typically what I do for them, getting them ready in the morning. Everything runs the same. I don't want to change things. I don't want to switch things around. I still keep the same routine that we do for the day.
That is very impressive. And thank you so much, because that routine is so important. You need a schedule. And I'm sure right now a lot of parents are struggling because there's no schedule. And so a lot of people can probably go to bed very late. And so in the morning, they don't want to wake up because they get tired. So having a schedule, to me, is extremely important, because that's what is going to keep the children, within a certain structure, and they'll be able to get the work done. And as a parent, she can also get things done. Because if not, a lot of children like that is going to be very difficult to cope. So the next question is to Grace, the educator. So how are you supporting students with disabilities who need specialized instruction, related services, and other support during school closure? How are you dealing with students with disabilities? Grace, we can't hear you. Grace, are you on mute? Okay, I guess Grace is on mute, so we can't hear. Are you on mute? Grace, are you on mute? Okay, we'll move on to the next person, because I think Grace is on mute. I will switch to the social workers. So in the Black community, I know there's a lot of disparity going on with education, but when it comes to mental health, there's a lot of disparities there as well. So how is the Black community dealing with the COVID-19? And in terms of abuse, because I understand domestic violence rates have really gone up high since COVID-19. So how are communities of color dealing with this COVID-19? And I'll start with you.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Did you want to start with me or?
Yes, you. Yeah, Eunice.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, it's still unclear with I think there's an echo. There's still an echo. But from my understanding, the question was, how is the Black community dealing with mental health?
Yes.
Okay. So from just the research that I've been looking into, and information from online and people I've spoken to, in general, mental health has been stigmatized in the Black community for many years. And speaking from a Ghanaian family, I think it's probably even more stigmatized in our home than in actual Black American homes. Experiences different. So in general, it's been stigmatized for many years. No one wants to talk about depression. No one wants to talk about anxiety. It's just something that, we don't want to talk about. We'll rather pray about it than to actually deal with the problem, which is something that it's sad, unfortunately. But I think one thing that we have to take in mind, especially during this time, is recognizing that mental health is an issue and addressing it head on. It's not a bad thing. A lot of us are going through things that unfortunately we can't deal with everything that's happening. And so I think the first thing that we have to address is that it's an issue. And so we should bring it to the forefront and acknowledge the fact that we're dealing with some of these problems. Our young people are facing it every single day. And as mentioned, there has been an increase with the depression and anxiety, especially during this time, because we just don't know what to expect for the future. So I think the first thing would just be addressing it and acknowledging head on, and then taking it from there. There's a lot of resources out there, and so I think we're getting to that.
Thank you so much, Eunice. So now I'll go to Natalie. So Natalie, Black people have, as Eunice said, have difficulty asking for help, especially mental health, asking for help in terms of counseling or even seeking care. Now, amidst this COVID-19, how are Black people dealing with this pandemic, because we're socially isolated now? So how people dealing with it in the
Okay. So I think similar to what Eunice was saying, I think you have to be intentional about mental health, which we often forget in our community, especially in African Americans, especially, we tend to lean to religion. And I say there's nothing wrong with therapy and prayer. They work both together. They work great together. So I think by being intentional about your mental health, so know when you're having anxiety versus I'm just stressed out, or know when I'm having a depressive moment versus I'm just sad. Just trying to balance that out can just be a difficult situation because you don't know what those feelings are, especially during this pandemic. But realizing that those feelings are real, and understanding it and accessing where you need to access, because there is resources for what you need, but also cutting out the things that does not help you. So if you stay on social media and that's not helpful, then you have to limit that. If you are doing things that is not positive for you, then you have to limit that. So one thing that I've done during this time is, because I still keep not physically, Zoom calls, so I still have counseling sessions with people. I intentionally turn my phone off at 8 o'clock every day. I have to, because I have to disconnect. If you don't disconnect, you find yourself in power mode, and you're going and going and going. And as social workers, we're social workers for a reason. We're just different. We want to help people. That's why we got into the field. So I think just being intentional and purposeful constantly, and that in itself is work. It's like getting up in the morning and being intentional and purposeful is work. But just realizing that this is not going away anytime soon. We have a long way to go with this pandemic. So it's important to start practicing those things now to be able to deal with it in the future as well. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that information. Being purposeful is extremely important and intentional. And also shutting out the world. You know, at 8 p.m. you turn your phone off. So sometimes you need to just have those boundaries, shut out the rest of the world, and then focus on you and take care of yourself. Because that's it. If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of other people. Now, Grace, are you back on? Grace? Okay. All right. So, yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so the question I have for you is, how are you supporting students with disabilities who need specialized instruction related services? So how are you really supporting students with disabilities?
service is being done. However, it's being done like how we're doing now through a new have been utilizing a system called Teams, which is a Microsoft system. It's really more advanced and it has more things for the students. It's harder getting in contact with some of the students because of things that's going on in their personal life, especially the social worker. Some of them are 10 o'clock p.m. get in contact with these families, really trying to modify working together with, so they're all saying, hey, this is the assignment the teacher gave you to make sure that you are doing that. But my students that are severe, challenging because some of them don't know how to use the computer, and some of them have other disabilities that we cannot do, in person. So we are being doing summertime to kind of create a system where maybe we might have them come to school and do one-on-one services. The phase one go into the COVID-19 will work with learning disability, which is other healthy impairment. We are still meeting them to solve their assignment.
Thank you so much, Grace. So you all have systems in place to help these students who have disabilities, and you're able to support them as well during the COVID-19. So I'm going to go back to the students. So I'm going to go to Nana. So Nana, you said like introvert. Yes. So really, the social distancing, social isolation has not had a great impact on you. But I know that you're also a TA at school. Now, how has that social isolation, social distancing affected some of the students that you do?
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay? I'm using headphones now. Is there an echo?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, just on the introvert point though, I mean, it's still like you can't really go outside like before, go to different places like you used to be able to when outside was open back up. So I mean, that can still a lot of what hasn't had any impact on me. It's just a little different. But what I would say in terms of working with undergraduates is that it has been a difficult transition for them, for sure. There are some students who have had to work part-time to support their families. There are students who maybe they're moving into a really cramped living situation. Everybody's on the Wi-Fi. It's hard for them to get their work done. Just reading online, I know I saw a student who was doing all of his work from his phone just because he was letting his little brother use his laptop to get his work done. So it's very difficult for students just to, it's difficult. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. But can I ask the rest of you to just mute yourselves? That way there's no echo. Okay. All right, Nana. Okay.
Yeah, so it's definitely been difficult. And I think that the students I worry the most about are the ones who get disconnected from the course. Those people who aren't emailing or aren't tuning in to Zoom calls. Those are the students that it's hard to know what's going on because they might not be responding for any set of reasons. I recently just had a student who turned in their final paper. A professor had to submit grades to post for students. And so they're very apologetic for struggling a lot, but their paper was over a week late. So I think the biggest thing I've been doing is being flexible and being understanding. Thankfully, I've been working with a professor who is also very understanding. I know some professors have not been so understanding during this time. So when you have a faculty member who is committed to make sure to get through this as smoothly as possible, it helps a lot. I think going back to the boundary thing, that's been very big because sometimes students feel like you're going to give them an immediate response on email just because we're all at home. And so I've had to also set boundaries with the times I respond to emails and just letting people know I'll get back to you, but it may take a day. Just for my own self-care and mental health. So yeah, I think those have been some of the challenges with transitioning online.
Thank you so much, Nana, for your response. So we know we have students who are at risk. They are in college, they've gone home, they have different family situations. So even doing their work is also very challenging. So I pray that we have professors and some instructors listening so that they can offer grace to these students and they can be very patient with them, because not everyone has maybe a 3-bedroom house, a 3-bedroom apartment, a 4-bedroom house, a 4-bedroom apartment, whereby every child has their own room, every child has their own laptop that they can work on, and the Wi-Fi is available, so they have a high-speed internet. Not everyone has access. So hopefully, moving forward, I hope so that even you, Grace, as an educator, will offer grace to your teachers and to the students who are actually doing all of this. So Angela, I'm going to go with you. You are in sort of a different situation because you were a student, you have a TA. Not as a TA and a student, but you are just a student. So how are you coping in terms of the workload that you've been given, and how your professors working with you to ensure that you get the work done in a timely fashion?
Well, for my personal experience, the London professors have been quite phenomenal. It's actually quite the opposite of what other college students in the US are experiencing, because for my school back in London, they automatically extended the school year and extended all deadlines to allow for people to turn in their work in late. If you needed more time, you could apply to get more time. And if you were abroad, they automatically give you more time. On the other hand, for my friends who go to school in the United States, they still had to meet the exact same deadlines. And they were frustrated because some teachers completely changed the curriculum without letting them know beforehand. So like even when they thought they could pull their grades up higher, their grade stays the same. And there was a lot of complications. So I have been helped in that way. And then with my little sisters, because in any given moment there are 8 kids at the house, their teachers are doing well in meeting them on Zoom like twice a week, but then there isn't much homework given or anything given to actually occupy their time. So nowadays we're just scrambling to kind of keep up with them, to create some sort of curriculum to keep them busy, because a lot of times they're just left to themselves unless they have like maybe 2 hours of Zoom a week per child.
Okay. So thank you so much for bringing that point out. So we have students in college who have gone home and have siblings there as well. Now they're becoming responsible for these siblings to also make sure that the siblings, they do their schoolwork. However, the time that they have left, that these college students are actually helping to occupy those young siblings' time. So therefore, it's also putting pressure on a lot of the college students who have gone home, especially the ones who have limited space in their homes. I've even heard of some people working in the bathroom. Taking their laptops literally to the bathroom to do their homework, and their phones to the bathroom to do their homework, because they live in very cramped spaces. And so coming out will mean that they will see the that's going on. So they have to go into these bathrooms. So it's very challenging. I know it's very challenging. So we'll go to you. Because Lucy, you have a lot more children. So what advice? No, the first thing I'm going to ask you, how are your children coping with this social isolation? How are you?
The question is, how are my children coping, right?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I talk to them about it. I let them know, hey, this is the situation because of this, and because as a parent, like, we are all stressed out. We shouldn't forget that the children are also stressed out too. And then we shouldn't be overwhelmed. I mean, we don't have to make it too loud. When we panic, it affects them as well. So as a mother, I calm myself down. I mean, the thing is scary, but I don't have to put it that way to them. So I calm myself down, and then I talk them through about it. I did it because of this, with that and that. Sometimes they really want to go out. And so I have to explain to them that we cannot go outside. I know you really want to go outside, but we can't. Due to this, we have to be at home. And so while at home, I have to put certain things in place whereby they can play or exercise as well. So I just start in this, most of the times in the evening, I start. You see that I'm doing some jumping jacks, and then they all join and they say, Mommy, you're doing great. I mean, in a playful manner, and then they all join. And then in a way, we are playing, we are getting to know each other much. I mean, because it's like going to school, going to work, come back home. This is the only time that we spending most of our times with the kids, and we are getting to know them better too. We're getting to know them more. And so that is how through play we do these exercises. And then most of the times I invite my guys, so Usua, you're going to learn how to cook. And then so this is an opportunity for me to, as a mom, to teach my little girl and the older one how to cook. I said, so let's start. I invite her to the kitchen. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. I mean, just to get some of the time, because it's a whole lot of time, about 12 hours a day, and you don't know what to do. And so I plan it in a way, like I said earlier on, get them ready, prepare them for the studies, the online learning. And after that, I know from here, from the learning, we are going to the next step. And then also I involve play. I mean, I am flexible. As a parent, you have to be flexible with your children in a way. You don't have to be, sorry. And then you have to explain to them, I mean, okay, you're going to watch TV for this time, and then after that, you can go back to your work. I mean, little thing at a time, so that some of the time will go away before they know, because it's like they will be sitting down and they feel bored. And so playing with them is also a very good way that it's hard for them, they want to do, but I say you play with them as well. So play is important. And then sometimes with my little ones, getting the crayons out. I mean, just let's color, do something involving them. Get them occupied so that it doesn't be like all day television, all day TV throughout the day. So I get something for them to do. Get them busy so that I can also do my work as well, because I need to work too. So basically that is what I do. But I plan it in my mind as soon as I get up. And then the last time what I did with them was we all sat with them, and I'm like, when we wake up after this, what do you think we need to do? So I set the rules with them. So from this, we're going to do that. So when you are not, so I say, hey, remember you said we're going to do that at this time. So are we following it? And then we go by that. I mean, and then encouraging them. We sing and we dance and then we play. We do a whole lot just to get the day moving, and I get something for them to do while I can also work. So that is what goes on in my home.
Thank you so much, Lucy. You know what? Lucy has brought up some really good points. She is really getting to know her children. Because keep in mind, before COVID, we were all out. You wake up in the morning, you're out. You go to work, you come back home, you know, and your husband comes back home. You have dinner together. You just kind of briefly talk about the day a little bit. You go to bed. The next day you start again. So it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? But now we have the opportunity to be with our spouses, to be with our children. We're getting to know our children. We're getting to know our spouses more than ever. So we should take advantage of this time. As Lucy said, she does jumping jacks, and her children will join her to do the jumping jacks. So we're doing activities together as a family. And I believe that also helps them mentally and also to deal with it emotionally, you know, that now that they're home and they cannot be with their friends. So these are some suggestions for the parents on the phone, on the phone right now. So I'm going to go to Grace, the educator. So another question is, how are you ensuring that individuals who are second, learners, English learners, so you have students, right? So how are you ensuring that you're supporting these children, these students during the pandemic? Because it must be very challenging that, first of all, the person is learning English and now everything is online. How are those students coping? Because they're still expected to do all of the work. So how are you supporting these children?
Okay. I'm gonna repeat back what you said. You're asking how are the teachers coping or the students?
No, the students.
I'm having a hard time.
So the first question is, how are you supporting those children who English is their second language? So these are English learners, right? So English is not their first language. So how are you supporting them amid the COVID-19? Because I know those students will have to do all of their work, right? So how are you supporting those students?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So the first question is, how are we supporting ELL students who speak a second language, right?
Yes.
That's the first question.
Yes. How are you supporting them?
So that has been very difficult. However, and also Teams classroom, which is kind of like they're able to translate the language in their native language, like in Spanish or in French. And also we have a system in DC called Language Line. So we need to communicate with their families. We have somebody that is able to translate whatever communication we have in their native language as well. Those have been really hard, but we have made sure that we have the language line working, and also when they're doing their assignments, we've translated into the native language in the Google Classroom and in the Teams classroom. What was the second question?
No, that was the only question. How are you supporting those? That was the only question, Grace.
Yes, so that's what we're doing for the English learning.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to my social worker, Nadlin. So Nadlin, how can people deal with, how can people have better emotional well-being amid the COVID-19? This is a pandemic going on, and I'm sure it's affecting people emotionally. So how can people deal with all of these emotions that are going on? Because we have a lot of people who live alone. And before they could get up, go to work, come back home so they could interact with people, right, when they go to work. So it was not such a challenge. But now these people are home. They only see their co-workers via Zoom when they have to work. But then they're not working 24 hours a day. On the weekend, it's just them. So how are people dealing with this emotional? How are they dealing with all the emotions during this pandemic? And what advice can you give to people?
So I think our mom said it best when she said she's keeping to routine. Routines are really important during this time, but this is when your face is also an important thing. So this is when you reach out and find whatever face it is that you have, because it helps. There's so much emotions that comes along, and I'm just very real. I know that just in my own home, I have a college student and 2 high school students, and I just have 3. So there was a time there where everybody was doing something different, and we'll go from crying to happy to excited all in the 3 hours. So we have to somehow balance all of those emotions out. Because here I thought I was giving space to my college student. She was about to graduate, and she needed all the time. But meanwhile, she's the one that needed our company so she can complete her assignment. And the high schoolers were all over the place. So at some point, we decided that we were just going to pray every morning, because that's just how we were going to get our day started. So the emotions have to be recognized, and you have to recognize that you're having it. And then once you recognize it, you can take steps to do what you need to do. I don't know about everybody else, but I haven't prayed so much in my life. Man, I'm one with God right now. I pray so much. I don't know. I go from So what am I going to do? Let me go pray. Let me go pray real quick. And that really has helped, to be honest with you, because I don't think I have any other options because I can't go out. So I can, we're all doing things. Everybody's on a Zoom call 24/7. So I literally, that was my only option. So, man, when I tell you that I just pray, I probably know all the hymns now, be able to sing a song here in a little bit, but it's all part of the process. Just doing the routine and understanding what works for you. Because the prayer didn't always work for everybody in my house. And the prayer didn't always work for everybody at the same time. But we knew that we had to do something every single time to get us all through. So recognizing your emotions, knowing what you're feeling, and planning it out. So it all of it just helps in that way when you keep doing I hope everybody can hear me. When you keep doing it and you keep doing it on a regular basis. So don't stop, because the hardest thing to do is to keep it going, right? So the consistency. And I realized the more we were consistent with it, the more it became. So what stage is like right now I'm losing my mind stage where I want to just go out. And then you go to the stages of I'm really working harder because I'm home. So there's so many stages. So I'm recognizing all of those stages and just realizing what works for you. Because what works for me is not going to be what works for my sister, my nieces. It doesn't work for everybody. And with you, she has a new baby. I don't know what works for her in her house. But in my house, at some point, somebody was always playing music, even right this minute. So that's what works for people. So you just have to realize and recognize what works for you and do it. Like I'm telling you, I have never been this close to God, you all. I'm so close to God. Like we talk all the time. It's just that's what was working for me, and I just had to do that. So it's just what works for you and what's good for you, and you can keep doing it and recognize it. So if you have to cry, just cry. If you have to scream, just scream. But if you have to do nothing for a while, that's okay too. That's okay too. And just kind of, being well-rounded about it all.
Thank you so much. You bring out some really good points. Whatever works for you, that's what you have to do in order to have that peace. So you need to find out what it is you can do. You've been praying, you've been singing hymns, and now you're closer to God. So maybe this pandemic has been positive for you in that particular, situation. It's been great because now you're closer to God. So that's good. I'm sure by the time this pandemic is over, when we get back to our new norm, and we don't know what that new norm is going to be. We don't know what it's going to be. Whatever that new norm is going to be, we will all have positive experiences to bring this particular new norm that will be fit after the pandemic. Now, Eunice, I'm going to ask you a question. So, have you heard anything in the healthcare community amidst the COVID-19? How are healthcare practitioners dealing with this COVID-19? Because they have to be on the front lines on a daily basis. So what have you heard from healthcare practitioners in terms of how they're dealing with this particular situation, with the pandemic? We can't.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So I've connected with nurses, doctors, friends of mine who are in the healthcare field. And mind you, these are not only the people on the front line. We have people who are housekeepers, phlebotomists. I mean, we all people that are in the healthcare field that are really faced with this crisis. And it's been a stressful time, just like us who are home and have to stay away from the crowd. They actually have to go in and help these people. So it has been some of the things I've heard from healthcare workers are they going to contract this disease? Are they going to bring it home to their families? There are people that have young children in their home. And coming home every day is very fearful for them. Naturally, as a healthcare worker, we're so willing to help and support these people that are going through things, but it's also thinking about yourself and your family as well. You know, we go to work every day, we help other people, but you're going to come home and have to deal with it head on with family members. So it's been a stressful time for a lot of healthcare workers. I think the hospitals are working together to help them and support them in this time. I know a friend of mine who's a doctor. He's in residency right now, and he hasn't seen his family for about 2 months. His family had to go and be with his wife's family, just so that to make sure everyone is safe, because he's working in the emergency room, and so anything could happen. Could bring anything home. He could get as well. So it has been very stressful, and I think as Auntie Madeline mentioned, when it comes to prayer, you're not the only one. I'm on a prayer line every morning, and I wasn't like this before. So maybe this is just really a time for all of us to improve in our spiritual life and things like that, because it's been very, very difficult for all of us, and especially healthcare workers, frontline workers, essential workers. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So we're going to wrap up soon, because I don't know, maybe DJ has people who have questions, so we can answer those questions for them. But we're going to wrap up. But my final question to all of you, this question is going to go to those who are married. How are you coping with your spouse being home? I know it's been great for me for my husband to be home 24/7, 7 days a week. And why do I say that? Because before, my husband would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, leave home by 6 to get to the bus stop to take the bus to go to DC, and then get home at 6 p.m. It was so I didn't see my husband work for more than 8 hours. He gets home, he eats, we talk a little bit, watch a little bit, and then he goes to bed. But now, lunchtime when we're working at 12 o'clock, we go out and take a walk. After we're done working, we go out and take a walk. And my husband is actually watching Netflix with me, which he's never done in the past. So it is awesome. And we're watching African movies. So it's just been a great, great time. And just enjoy my husband right now. Now, those who are married, how is it going, with this social isolation? I think it's been good for me. Now, I don't know about you all. So I will start with Lucy, and then we will go to Eunice, and then we will go to Grace.
Okay, so what I and my husband, we do this time, he helps with the kitchen now because both of us are home. So sometimes I'll be sitting down and then he cooks. He does the cooking. Or even when I do it, he would just say, I'm going to do the cleaning up and then getting them in the containers. And then one another thing that we do is that we do create a lot of jokes. We create jokes and then we make fun of each other, and then the kids will be around and then they'll be kicking and then laughing about it. Look at what mom and dad are doing. All this, it makes us happy and it takes the stress away from this COVID thing and it keeps us going. That's one very important thing that we are doing. It's really working for the family.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think Grace says she's having difficulty, DJ, coming on. I don't know what's going on with her phone, with her system. She says she's having challenges getting back on. So I don't know what's going on with her connection. But we will go to Eunice. So Eunice, tell us how things are.
So Eunice, tell us. I have a combination of things.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a combination of things. I worked literally up until I gave birth, literally the next day I gave birth. The day it was New Year's. I gave birth. I was in quarantine until March, and then the official quarantine happened. So it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy. But honestly, I think as Auntie mentioned, this has really been a time for myself and my husband to kind of connect on a different level. We're learning how to be parents in self-isolation, so that alone has brought its own journey for both of us, and it's been exciting. I'm human. There's days where I'm frustrated and I'm dealing with postpartum like stress and figuring out how to be a mother. And God bless all the mothers. Wow. But God bless Lucy, who has 5 kids. And Auntie Dylan with 3 kids. It's just amazing, like how being a mother can play a huge role in just this whole experience. And then being a wife, because we're wives first and then a mother. So I think this time has really allowed my husband and I just to connect on a whole different level, because as Auntie Vera said, I mean, you go to work, you come home, you spend 8 hours at work and you come home, have dinner, and it's time to go to sleep. So you're not able to connect the way we would as we're connecting right now, pretty much. So this has been a very interesting time for all of us. And I think it's also brought us closer together, which I think has been a blessing.
Thank you so much. Grace, now, how is it going with you and your husband, with the COVID-19? How is it going?
So we are just newly, we're just newly married, so it has been really nice because, we're still in the honeymoon stage, so it has been really good, but it's been different. He works from home, so he's used to being home. So me being home and I'm like talking, I'm always on a call, and he's like, lower your voice, and I'm like, well, I'm working. So during the day, we try to be very respectful of each other, and we work in different workspaces. That way it could look like, okay, that's what we usually do, so we won't, feel overwhelmed. But besides that, it has been really interesting because I really got to know him on a different level as far as like how he is 24 hours. So I'm learning. It's been a learning experience.
I'm sure it's been. I'm sure it has. I think it's a learning experience for all of us. It's a learning experience. So now I'm going to go to the parents. I'm going to go to my sister, Madeline. So you tell me how you're coping with your 3 daughters at home. All of them have different personalities. So how are you dealing with all? I know you touched on it a little bit initially, but how is it going with all 3 of them now, being home at the
same time? I pray a lot. How is it? I pray for the killing them. Yeah, that's, you're talking about intimacy, and this is it's real when you're living with 3 people in the same corridors. You're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. That's reality. That's what we've been doing for months, all of us. Yeah. And so for me, and there are 3 girls. They're all teenagers. They're very outspoken. It's interesting. It's interesting here. So I think one of my biggest coping skills is I have a home office downstairs in my basement, so I walk away a lot. Because I tend to realize my middle one is very feisty. So she would definitely come back at you. So I have to walk away and come back, really, from killing her. So I just walk away. But we're also very close, which also helps us. So our anger doesn't last long. And I think that's what we're all learning, and we've been learning. Even my oldest one, who's very much of an introvert, usually holds on to everything. And she's been learning that she has to talk about it. Because if she doesn't, she's going to lose her mind. I don't know there was another student aside from Nana that was talking. She'll be on her computer in her room all day. And I forgot in my head, even though I should know better, I still forgot because I'm a parent, that she was taking 6 classes. So she went from taking 3 in person to 6 online classes. So very tough course. She's doing speech pathology. So she was taking things like chemistry, statistics, from all of this stuff all at the same time. And I'll come in and I'll do the mother thing. Why is your room looking like this? What is happening? And she'll be like, because I've been working. So I forgot for a second. And so we battled it out for a little while there. But I think she learned after a while that our anger cannot go for a long time because we don't have anybody. We only have each other. And so the anger didn't last a long time. We were able to make up really quickly. We've had a lot of family meetings, and just talking about what everybody's experiencing. And literally, I have to walk away. I learned how to walk away. And we did different things just because we're different. We created a little wall in my house where we could put pictures and things we do. We call it our quarantine museum. We did different things. We're still doing that. We'll put people's essays up or people's grades up, so just to look positive for us. So whatever works. Like I said before, we did literally. For me, I have to walk away from that and pray. I prayed a lot. I'm telling you, me and God, we prayed. I prayed so much. It got to a point where I thought they were. One day, a cat walked into our house, and I'm scared of cats. Instead of me trying to run away from the cat, I prayed, you guys. I prayed. I got on my knees in the middle of the cat entering the garage, and I prayed. And so just to tell you how much prayer I've been doing, but it's been my go-to. Because if you don't go to that, like I said, they're all teenagers. They all have their own thing going on. And so it helps by just praying a lot. Just a whole lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Prayers. Okay. So Nana, you are not home with your parents, right? You are in your own apartment. I know classes ended for you on the 15th of May. And you told your dad you were going to quarantine yourself for 14 days. And I know your father was having a fit. Why are you not coming home? Why are you not coming home? I thought he was going to have a stroke, when he was doing that. And I said, power to you, Nana, freedom and justice. Express your freedom. Stay there for 14 days, quarantine yourself, and then come home. But your father's still giving a hard time. I'm still dealing with that. But let me ask you, how are you dealing with the social isolation? Being far away from home, right? And having parents who are really helicopter parents and constantly texting you every day, calling you every day. How are you dealing with that?
It's fine, What I was gonna say. I'm pretty stubborn.
You are outspoken, Nana. You are outspoken.
I'm just gonna stick with it. But I think it's been fine. I think that this has been a time for us to get a little bit closer, even though we are physically apart. I think we've been able to have some great conversations, and I hope that in 2 weeks when I do come home, we can continue them. I think that, living alone is nice because you just come home to yourself, but at times it can be lonely. And I think the biggest time I always felt lonely was when I saw other families, and I was like, man, my family is not here. So I think I've just been trying to make sure to be intentional about reaching out and staying connected because I'm definitely not great at that. But I've been trying to push myself to make sure I check in on people. And that's been really beneficial for me, I think, just to keep my mental health up. And then just doing things that I love that I normally don't get to do enough of, like playing my instruments or reading, cooking. That's been really helpful for me.
And I think we've been doing a lot of FaceTime and also Zoom. We did Zoom one day. This is awesome. We've been doing a lot of FaceTime. We've been trying other things to get more connected. So, Andrew, you have 3 siblings, right? That you have to deal with. And I know you have cousins as well. And then your parents. So how is it going for you in terms of dealing with a lot of people at the same time? Whereas when you were in college, it was just you in your dorm or with your roommate, and you didn't have to deal with all of these distractions. How are you coping?
Let's just say I'm really missing my dorm because I usually have a single. So I'm used to just being able to just close the door and not let any humans in. And I live in a house where nobody will knock. So it's just it's always loud. That's kind of the thing. But the number one thing is a lot of times, one, you need to get out, go for a walk. I'm really proud of myself for this. I went on a 6-mile walk. I didn't plan on it being 6 miles, but I said at the end of my playlist, I will stop walking, and I didn't realize my playlist was that long. So I had to keep to my commitment. But just going out, go for a walk, clear your head, and then given some sort of outlet. and my mom gets frustrated with this, but a friend of mine forced me to get on TikTok, which I was like, I don't want to do it. It's so childish. But then I found all these different, like, it was just a way to get all the creative things in my head out. And it's something that we've all come together as family. It gets the kids really excited. Like they're fighting to be who's going to be my camera person, who's going to get my costumes on, so it like kind of keeps them occupied. So just kind of having something to do other than school and helping them or housework, just kind of like something to just have fun with, because being on the phone all day is not fun. Being on the computer, like you just get tired of it. So just like having something to just be like, oh, I want to create this sketch, or I want to do this, I want to sing this. So it has been that would be my advice also, and trying to get rest. And it's not necessarily about sleeping, but I mean, sleeping is a huge part. I know my mom complains a lot about me not having a good enough sleep schedule. But I'm still trying to work on my sleep schedule because I've never had a consistent one. And then when I was in London, I never actually even got on a proper sleep schedule. I was sleeping at like 5 a.m. in London because I was still on American time. So I'm still like trying to work on having a sleep schedule because I've never been on it. And I know it frustrates my mom because she's like, sleeping is important. I'm like, I get it. So working on that and making sure that I'm not going to sleep at 3 a.m. or what other times. Because a lot of times I'm not doing anything. I'm just not tired enough. And most of the time when I get frustrated, I want to just take a nap in the during the day to kind of just get away from the kids. But then realizing I need to make sure I set a schedule. And in doing your work, just make sure that you stay on top of it, because I'm a procrastinator and I do not recommend it for anybody ever. Don't get in it because it's addictive and it's hard to break. And I always say I'm just a work in progress procrastinator because I'm really good at it, but it's horrible and I'm trying to work on myself. So don't procrastinate, get lots of rest, get out when you can, and just have an outlet to kind of just let all the like frustration, creativity, and all that. Because even when I make a lot of videos, but most of them I don't even post. It's just like there for me and my sisters to laugh at whenever we're just free. So just having something to do.
Okay. All right. So thank you all for participating. And this time we're going to take questions because, you know, there are people listening. So we're going to take some questions. Any questions? Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. 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 So, team, did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay. So anyone can take that question.
I think we kind of touched on this a little bit. As an educator, it's very important. Now you are parents, you are now the teacher. So you got to make sure, just like we do in school, you have a schedule. So that means when they wake up in the morning, you're having breakfast, you're having brain breaks, you're going into your Zoom classes. So once you have a routine and it's structured, the kids get used to it because that's what they're used to. So don't make it a time where they're just sitting in front of the TV all day, but make sure that they are going into their classes, they're contacting their teachers. They're also having brain breaks, which now is like walking outside, of course, playing games or being creative, going on TikTok, like Angela said. But it got to be structured and routine. And it has to start as soon as they wake up.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Yes,
I would like to come in also. Hello.
Besides creating the structure, which is highly
You're on,
important.
Lucy.
Yeah, and one important thing that parents we always forget is we don't want our kids to mess the house. And this time I give my kids the chance, just make the mess. So let them play, let them make the mess, and then at the end of the day, I clean it up. That is very important. You can't have kids and be like, I don't want you to touch that. I don't want any sin. Don't put that thing on the floor. Hey, do the try. No, I just give them the free, after them the second thing that they are done learning. I put the toys out, play, build something, make the mess, and at the end of the day, we all clean up together. That is also a good thing.
And that is
Thank
a great
you so much,
strategy.
Lucy. Anyone else?
That's a great tool. That's a great tool. You, like Lucy said, making the mess, being creative is a way of learning. You know, you're putting things together. You're teaching them how to cook. Those are all forms of learning, and especially for the younger kids.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Grace and Lucy. Anyone? Before we continue?
One of the things that I was going to mention was about coming together and learning new skills, and I think we've touched on that quite a few times. Cooking, baking, gardening, sewing. Actually, I know a lot of people are making masks now, buying sewing machines and creating their own. So those are things that the kids can learn. Learning math and English, and they're still given classes at school to help them with extracurricular activities like cooking and creating things. So coming up with creative ideas for the kids, I think, is helpful for them.
Yeah,
also help them gain new skills.
Yeah, coming up with creative ideas is really great. You talked about cooking, baking, sewing. I have taken on a new, skill. I now make the meanest banana nut bread, and I was telling Nana yesterday, I said, I need to start selling the banana nut bread. So she's going to create a Facebook for me so that I can actually launch my little business. And I'm going to be selling banana nut bread from now on. I guess COVID has done something for me. I'm going to make money. So I'm just saying. Anyone else? Okay. All right, DJ. Can't hear you. Yes. Okay. All right. I'll let Lucy answer this question because she has 5 children. And so I'm sure she has some big tips. So Lucy, you take it away.
Okay, so what I do with my children is we all came up with a schedule. We made a plan. We made our own rules. So they know that you can be on this thing for the longest time. We do this within this time frame, and then we switch to another time. And then also getting them on the online reading thing too is also good. I mean, they don't want to be like learning throughout the whole day, but we have some games we have some math games, some reading games. I just open the computer, log them onto it. So they know they are playing, but I know the idea or the objective of that play is to getting them learn something. It shouldn't be book. Hey, go get your book. Get your book. I mean, I'm African mothers. We are that. hey, you don't want to learn, you don't want to do nothing, go get your book, go get your book. I mean, it shouldn't always be a book thing that I do, but either they are playing some games, going to the website that the teachers also has given us. I make them log on to that. There they get a chance to play some games, which in other ways they are learning too, and it's good. And then sometimes too, like, I don't just put a toys out, or I don't just get them do this. I join them in doing it. I sit on the floor with them, and then we play together. So I see that I will be on the first say, let's do something. Draw, mommy, do something. That is what we do to get them doing it, and then get much of the time occupied, so that we don't get bored. I don't get bored, and they don't get bored either. So you can get some. I have toys, I have Legos, I have magnet tiles, I have a whole coloring book that we put. I say, build something for me. Get them occupied, busy, something, so that it will be fun.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Grace, you are the educator. So what activities would you suggest?
Yes, so right now, currently, we actually at our schools have extracurricular activities. So after the academics, in the afternoon from 1:30 all the way to 6 p.m., some kids are able to join in the Zooms or the Teams. We have yoga classes, we have cooking classes, we even have chess classes online. There's like games that they go on and play online, like trivia. So there's just a lot of things that you can do, but we always encourage that go outside, go biking with your family, go walking. You can learn a lot just by looking outside and asking your kids questions like, what color is the sky? Or what do you see around? Just use the things, the simple things. Have been with having extracurricular after. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? What they're doing?
Yeah.
That have academics to start.
Okay. You have to be patient. You have to go out with your children. I heard a friend of mine say the other day that, actually, he's not a friend of mine, but I mean, he was doing this show, and he's a church member. He said one day he was in the house with his children, and he heard this noise, like, and he was wondering what it was. So he went out, and he looked, and he saw 2 owls in a tree. So he came back to the house and called his children. He said, man, you have 2 owls. We've got to look at this one right now. And his children rushed out, and they stood in front of the house and just stared at these owls until the owls flew away. But that was a family activity, Before COVID-19, who would have gone out to look at an owl? You're tired. You're probably sleeping at that time. You really don't care. But now nature is becoming important. So I'm hoping and praying that, parents will start actually going out, taking walks, riding their bikes, saying do something else other than what you've been doing pre-COVID-19. Any other advice from anyone? Madeline, you have 3 girls. They're older, but any advice?
All of the advice I think are the same. Depending on where you are, they have virtual tours that you can take of like museums or art centers or different things. I know here there's been several virtual tours. We have a Noah's Ark exhibit not too far away from here in Kentucky, and they were doing free virtual tours for families if they were interested. So that's something that everybody can look up as well. That would be helpful to do for, especially the younger kids, even the older kids. I've enjoyed a few. Also, like for the older kids, we've done virtual college tours, where you can visit whatever college you're looking at to go in. You can do a tour, and those have been helpful as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else before we go to the next?
Another thing is that a lot of the schools are having social emotional learning. So that's the time in the afternoon so that the kids could talk about their feelings, what they're going through, and also reconnect with their friends, not just talking academics, but how they're feeling. So a lot of the schools also incorporate that with our school programs.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, DJ, next question. No. Oh, born before computers. Yes. Okay. All right. So educator, how can they learn? No, let me ask the students. So Angela, how can parents learn how to connect to Zoom for their children? Angela.
Is this question for me?
No, Angela.
Okay.
Okay.
So you actually don't need the app or need to have an account on there in order to be on Zoom. It depends on two things. One, are you trying to do it on your phone or on a laptop? I would recommend a laptop because it is less distractions. So I would recommend it for it to be on a laptop. If it's on a laptop, you can easily just look up download Zoom and you can just download it that way. Just Google download Zoom and it will literally walk you through exactly what you need to do. If not, when the teacher will send you a link, the link will lead you directly to the classroom. So once you get the link, you click on that link and it will pull up Zoom on the internet. And it will ask you, would you rather download the app or would you just do it online? And you can just click continue online or download the app. And everything goes directly. If the teacher requires a password, the teacher will also send you a password. For every single Zoom, there's going to be a link that is sent. Some teachers will reuse that link, but it's not up to you to find the teacher. The teacher will send it to you so you have all that information. So a lot of times it's not as stressful as we think. And unless your kids are really young, for the most part, they know how to get on Zoom too. But nowadays, there's so many videos on YouTube, which will literally walk you through everything. Just look up how to download Zoom or how to work Zoom, and it will help you through all of that.
Thank you so much, Angela. Okay, DJ, next question. Okay. All right, Lucy, are you on? Lucy?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So someone has a 4-year-old daughter who was supposed to start school just before the pandemic. Now the child is home. She's trying to find strategies to occupy her child.
Okay, so there are a lot of things that they can do. Even like for my he's 2 years, he's not 3. So my 2-year-old, he has not started school, but he always want to go to school. So I talk him through about it that you are not there yet. Very soon you're gonna go to school. So with my I don't know whether to say my colleague parent or the parent asking this question, you talk to your child about it that because of this you can go to school, but very soon, let's hope when the COVID goes away, when it goes down, then you can go to say. Then after that, coloring is an easy thing that I do. I go to the dollar store. There are a lot of coloring books, just $1, and then crayons, and just give it to the child. I give it to them, color, and then paint, and then some papers or something. Let them tear the papers. You can make the child color that, like coloring is very good, and then you can buy some Legos. I have a lot of toys. I mean, get some toys, the play toys, or any toys that you can find. You can get some from dollar store, and then Ross is closed down, so you can go there. So the mother too. What I do is I also engage with him I said today, so what are you going to draw for me? I asked him about what are you going to draw for mommy today? And then he just draw anything at all. And then we just talk about whatever he drew on the paper for me. So as a parent, the teachers are doing their part, but even though he said he didn't get a chance to start the school yet, but you have to play the teacher role, engage the child, do something, play with them. At the age he's only 4, so and then you can also count with the child. I mean, let's count your fingers, let's count your toes. How many, in total, how many do you have? We are doing math with the child there, right there, and then you are engaged, like learning numbers. Do something. You just engage. You just have to give them tablets or the phone all day. Books at the dollar store is not expensive. That's what I do. I get the books. I give them crayons. I give them the pencils, and then just color, draw something, and we talk about anything. Or I do sometimes if I want to watch something, I watch with him on the phone, and after that we have a conversation, because the 4-year-old also is good to, I say, language, to help them with their speech, to get the word. So we talk about it, what happened, that, and then this and that, and it helps them. Engaging them is really good thing that I do with my kids. So I think that parents can also do that as well.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Lucy, thank you so much. You're doing some really good work. And I hope those young parents and those soon-to-be parents will listen to what Lucy is saying, because she has some great ideas and good things that she's doing with her children. Now, Grace, any suggestions?
I'm sorry, my connection went out again. What was the question?
Okay, so a parent had asked that they have a 4-year-old who was supposed to start school just before the pandemic. So what activities can they do with a 4-year-old?
Okay, a parent was asking that what? I'm sorry.
A parent asked the question. They have a 4-year-old child, and they want to know what they can do with a child now, activities.
Okay, yes. So with the younger kids, I know that sometimes getting onto Zoom is really, really boring and their attention span is low. So what we have created is a lot of brain breaks, but we make sure you put them on the lesson for 30 minutes, give them a break, and then we talked about some strategies that you could do, like playing games with them, having Legos. Also, PBS and other YouTube channels have also been very creative in creating fun, engaging things for them to do. It could be something as exercise when you go on YouTube and the kids are doing it. It could be singing. There's just so many things out there. You just got to find out your child's interest. That's the key. There's different learners. What kind of learner is your child? Is your child visual? Is your child kinesthetic? Is your child auditory? So maybe reading a book could make them, relax and be engaged. So find out what they learn best and kind of schedule the assignments and what they're doing daily with their learning. So find out what they like.
Thank you, Grace. Anyone else? Anyone? Eunice, you want to touch on that?
Sure. I think everyone pretty much covered it all, but I just think it's really important to try and keep them as busy as possible, because it will help. And it's unfortunate that they were going to start school and it didn't work out. I'm sure local Board of Education, and Grace can speak on this, will have different alternatives for the children. So just making sure you're in touch with the resources that can be provided to you, reaching out to other people that may be in the same situation as you would be helpful. And 4 years old, they're young, they don't really know what's going on, but it's just important to kind of keep them as busy as possible and include some of the activities that was mentioned already.
Thank you. Okay, DJ, next question. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Let me answer this question, and then I'll let the panel also come in. I'm just going to answer the question in terms of health. So keep in mind that if you go out, you walk, you exercise, you secrete certain hormones, okay? They're called endorphins. What these endorphins do is they relax the body, okay? They give you this sense of peace. So it's important to go out in order for those hormones to be released. The second thing is there are no precautions you need to take when you're going out. You don't have to wear a mask if you're walking outside. Now, why don't you have to wear a mask? Because the atmosphere is so big that the virus, even if it's in the air, it's going to fall to the ground. And it can't stay on that ground for a very long time. When they did this research, they did it in a closed environment. And in that closed environment, the virus can spread. So, for example, if you go to the grocery store and someone has COVID and is standing next to you and sneezes, and you don't have a mask on, the virus is going to be transferred to you. Either going to land on your nose somewhere, right next to your mouth, somewhere in your body that you can touch, and end up transferring it into your body. That is a closed environment, but the atmosphere there is so big. There's no way COVID can be circling around, flying around like a bird flying around and dropping their poop as they go along and having that fall on you. Not at all. So when you go out to walk, there's no need to wear a mask because you're walking around. Unless you know that you're going to meet people in the park, then you need to wear the mask. Then you need to have precaution. Secondly, nature has a lot to offer. Summertime, right? We're in summer now. What is happening? You see the leaves, the color change. During winter, everything had died. Now things are growing again. You need to talk to your children about that, right? The weather has changed. Things are growing. It is raining. You see the plants coming up again. So all that dead life is now back again. You're going to see squirrels outside. I have a lot of geese where I live. Oh, there are geese all over, pooping all over. But the geese are equally as important to nature. They can live on land. They can fly, right? And they can also be in the water. Isn't that amazing? These birds are able to live in land. They can live in the water. They can also fly. So you need to start encouraging your children. Oh, look at that. 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 The trees, the water. All of those things, the plants, even the atmosphere. When the sun comes out in the morning, and at nighttime when the sun goes down, the moon, the stars, you can talk to your children about so many things. So just start doing it, and you're going to see a huge difference. So I'm going to allow the others to chime in. So we will start with Grace, and then we will go down the list. Grace, and then Lucy, and then Nadlin, and then Nanejewa, and then Eunice, and then Angela will be last.
Okay. So that was a very good question, and there is so many learning when you're outside. With education, is from science to reading, social studies, science. We make sure everything is aligned with the real world connection. So when you are outside, like Dr. Manu said, there's a lot you can see. With reading, you could create a story, like look at the neighbor's house. You could find out, make up characters. So you can look around you and say, who invented this, or where did this come from? Even the pandemic, have there been other pandemics prior to this? You could even talk about the science. There are just so many ways to be creative, and as an educator, as your teachers, they always need to be very cautious in making the real world connection when they talk about anything with the core subjects. In math, reading, and science, everything is connected to the real world. So it has to align. So please make sure you take advantage of this time, especially where there's so many things with history happening, and so many things with the math happening, so many things with the science, the weather. So please take advantage of that real world connection with your children.
Thank you so much, Grace. I think Natalie, your response.
Okay, so I think you summed it up pretty well when you said what there is not to be afraid of, because I think fear has been put into people that the minute you walk outside, COVID is going to enter you or something. So thank you for explaining that, because that makes so much sense. But there is so much you can learn from just, we have become friends with a new duck in the neighborhood that comes all the time. So we feed it. So now we're learning all about ducks. So that's something new that we're doing. There's so much to learn just about simple things. Like we learned the street sign recently had so much history behind it. Just because we happen to be walking around there and we got just some information about it. So as long as you're willing, I learned something today. I didn't know what BBC was, so I know what that is now. So you're always learning. It's a constant learning process. And for the parents who were before the computer era, another thing other school systems have been offering is one-on-one tutoring to help guide you if you don't know what Zoom is, if you don't understand it. Because we can explain it all, but if you don't know it, you don't know it. So I think by learning how to have that one-on-one and reaching out to your school counselors and talking to them, that can also give you some clarification on exactly what you need to do. So there's learning everywhere. There's learning by your doors, there's learning with your neighbors, and there's so much to learn. So you're never too old or too old or too confused or whatever it is. And just know that we're all in this together. Once you go outside, you realize what a community we have now, with everybody just being supportive and people asking questions and just wanting to help. So just going outside and taking that walk and talking to other people and just hearing their struggles also. And then 6 feet away. If you go to the grocery store, you see they mark where 6 feet is. And even that is a learning experience. Because who knew how long 6 feet was? Like in reality, though. Like we all hear about it, but who knew what that actually looked like? And so all of those things are learning curves and what you can do and what you can't do so much at this time. So I think it's important that you explain that so people are not fearful of getting the virus or and understanding the virus a little bit more.
Thank you so much. Nana. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying that I live in a city, so there's not as much nature here. But I think something that's been nice in going outside is you get to see the beauty of the city. Just things that you never notice because you just have tunnel vision and you're trying to get from point A to point B. But now that there's not that many people outside, you really get to see the little quirky things about the city. So whether it's little historical facts, seeing the architecture, there's so much you can see when you go outside. And it's also good for your health, just to get sunshine, to get fresh air. It makes you happier. For me personally, going to the grocery store stresses me out, but it is good to just take a little walk around your block if you can do that. You know, it's calming, it's refreshing. You come back inside, it can just help you to feel a little bit better. So there definitely are some things you can do outside that are safe. You can still interact with people, but it just has to be from a distance. So I think just thinking of this time of quarantine as not a time of social distancing, but just a physical distancing is good. That you shouldn't lose those connections that you have, because those are really what are going to sustain us throughout this time.
Thank you so much, Nana. Lucy, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So did you hear the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. So please go ahead and give your answer.
Okay, so as a mother, before I take them out, and when I'm by myself, I can take all 5 of them at a time. So we take turns, and then I give them the precautions I had before we go outside. I say you can't touch anything because of the COVID. You can't touch it, and putting stuff in your mouth. And also when I go outside, Mom, I am building a relationship with my kids. because that is one way where we get to love our kids more, and then they also love us as well. So it's a very good thing. My fellow parents, let's them and hey, ultimate you that have kids. It's great to be a parent. Love your kids, be a good mom, and then have fun with them outside. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Eunice, are you on or are you off?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So as mentioned, everyone seemed to have answered a lot of the questions. I think one of the things that I wanted to add when it comes to just going outside in general, especially with children, there's so much fun things out there. The world is so big, but of course we can't go too far right now. But I think some of the things that we can even do is just allowing them to understand our different body parts. You know, having to walk outside, you know, your feet is doing this, your legs is doing this. That's a whole subject in itself. So I think that's a really fun activity that you can do with kids, taking them outside. And I'm glad Auntie Vera mentioned about, you know, COVID-19, and it's not like it's in the atmosphere, and as soon as you go outside, you'll get it. I think right now is the most important time to take advantage of exercising and being outdoors, getting some vitamin D, especially being of African-American descent, where we naturally don't have the vitamin D that we need. And so we want to make sure that we're outside and getting our exercise and things like that, and eating healthy. I think it would definitely help.
Thank you. Okay, Angela. Angela?
Okay, me, right? Okay. So I have made like kind of like a list. Number one, we need to work on asking questions. And I know that's a very hard thing for parents to kind of do because they're used to always being right, always being in the know. But especially since most of our parents are immigrants who did not go to school here, we need to be asking the right questions and not always to your friends, because what works for your friends are not necessarily going to work for your kids. And building a relationship with your children's teachers, because a lot of times there's so many resources that we just don't use, and we just rely on hearsay to kind of go through, but it's not necessarily going to work for us today. Two, we need to do research. Yes, computer was not, like, many people did not grow up in the computer age. That is understandable, but Google is a great resource and it's very easy. Just do www.google.com. Whatever you want to search, you're going to find it on Google. You want to find any worksheets, find it on Google. You will find so many things on Google that will be helpful that it will really surprise you. When going outside, it is also very important to know that you need to give them a task. Because if you just say, oh, we're going outside, yes, they're fun times, but just give them a task. Oh, we're counting how many trees are there today. Do you know what photosynthesis is? Going through it, just give them an assignment. And then when you come back, be like, okay, what did you learn today? Write that down. If they can't write or read at that time, ask them, what did you learn? Let's reflect on what we learned today when we were outside. And also, time is very essential. And yes, a lot of parents do go out, but with this quarantine time, a lot of parents are stuck at home. And the number one thing that a lot of kids need is just quality time with parents. It's not time for yelling, doing work or whatnot, just spending time with the parent. And going outside is one of the few things where you're not focused on your phone. You're not focused on any of the outside world. You're just hanging out with the family. And that's something my family, we started doing. We started doing Sabbath walks, and we're just talking and walking, whatever. My dad is trying to raise the kids unsuccessfully or successfully, just spending time with the kids. And also, can we please work on paying attention to our kids? Because it is something I'm jealous of my little sisters for having, because my mom always says, we made all the mistakes with you, we're going to fix on them. I'm like, that's not fair. You should have fixed it with me. But let's pay attention to our kids, because a lot of them might be going through depression or these things, and you might take it out as, oh, they're just being hard-headed, they're just being disrespectful. But this is a hard time, and we know mental health is not something we take seriously, but let's pay attention to our kids and see what works for them. Just because it works for your friends' kids does not mean it's going to work for your kids. And then just listening to them, because sometimes they are right in what they're saying and what goes on in their education. Listen to them. Listen to what works for them, because a lot of times they're trying to set hints for you. They're trying to really talk to you. So just make the time to actually spend on your kids where you're not screaming at them or forcing things on them, where you're just talking and you get in their head and figure out, okay, how have we been doing this so far? Is it working? What would you like for me to change? And then I'm going to talk to you about what I would like for you to change, where it's not a screaming match between people, but a conversation.
Thank you so much. So I would like to say a big thank you to everyone on the panel. Grace, thank you so much for making the time. Angela, for making the time as well. My sister Madeline, all the way from Ohio. My daughter Nana, also in Philly. And I'm looking forward to seeing you after your 14-day quarantine on the 31st. Lucy, for making the time. You have 5 children. You know what? You are amazing. I really admire you. You did a marvelous job, and you are just amazing. Eunice, all the way from Ohio with a newborn. Thank you so much for taking the time. And just before we end, what will you tell your post-COVID self? What will you tell your post-COVID self? Anyone? What are you going to tell your
repeat the question, please?
post-COVID self? After all done, what are you going to tell your post-COVID self? After this is all gone, what are you going to tell yourself? What have you learned that you're going to tell yourself? Just yourself. Think about you. Sit in the room by yourself. Nobody's there. Post-COVID, it's all done. It's all gone. What are you going to tell yourself?
I'll go. I think I'm going to tell myself 2 things. Number 1, I survived COVID, which is huge. And then number 2, I did okay. I did okay with what I had. Because sometimes we're so critical of ourselves and what we should have done and what we could have done. So I think I'm going to tell myself, first of all, I survived it. This is a huge deal. And then that I did okay.
Okay, anyone else? Post-COVID self. What are you going to tell the post-COVID self after it's all done?
I can say that it was during this COVID season I was able to teach 2 of my children how to cook, like to prepare some small meals. And then I was also able to correct some behaviors that they pick up, especially my young one at the daycare center, that he was screaming and all that. And then it is during this time that I've been able to correct that behavior. And I think I'm doing good with them at home, and I'm proud of myself.
Anyone else? Your post-COVID self.
I think what I've learned from it would be that life is precious and treasure everybody that is in your life, because everything is temporary.
Thank you so much. Okay, Nana, your post-COVID self.
So I would say 2 things. Give yourself some grace. Just echoing Auntie Madeline, that I think we are all too hard on ourselves a lot of the time. So that's something I would definitely continue reminding myself. And then I say thank you, Jesus, for bringing me through this pandemic.
Okay, Angela, your post-COVID self.
To go for it, because I am always used to playing it safe, not necessarily going for everything that I want head first. But to my post-COVID self, because this really shows that life is short. A lot of things you can't really predict what is going to happen. And if you want to see change, you need to go for it and just make things happen, not wait for the world to happen, because you never know how long your life will last. So just like go for it and see what happens.
Eunice.
Sure.
Post-COVID Eunice.
I would tell my post-COVID self, as Auntie Madeline said, we made it. This is actually a historic moment. Not all of us have lived through a pandemic. It's not over yet, of course, but of course we know that by the grace of God we'll get through. So I'll just tell myself that I made it, we made it, and I'll also continue to push myself, because I think during that time it has given me an opportunity to engage in things that I never thought I would engage in from home. So I will just continue to push myself after everything is said and done.
Thank you so much. So my post-COVID self, I'm just going to say, keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Don't stop. Just keep it moving, because right now that we are amidst this COVID-19, I am taking courses upon courses every day. I am learning data mining. I am learning artificial intelligence. I am learning Tableau. I am doing like some amazing things that I never thought I would have done pre-COVID. So I'm learning new things. So I'm just going to keep it moving with my post-COVID self. Thank you so much. You did a great panel. I really do appreciate the time you spent with me. I have kept you for 2 hours. But thank you all so much, and we will continue this conversation post-COVID. Thank you, and you all have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Moya wa manyina ko yekotodwa ni sufrɛ sabachi efiri yare wo yi mu. Hallelujah. Yo God. Yehuwa kai nyaba Yesu Erade naji efiri yamani. Yehuwa kai nyaba Yesu Erade naji efiri yamani. Yoto susu nino etabiano Trajera Ponyasio, ye misera dise, mi banco biane, ma bancasie, mi akupa, mi demi otuso, mi misaona obajimi, I feel fidi sufo fidiemo, and you we are desayemo, o don't a crab a catayenso, now tabarasine, bakwa kusho, o chamanen catabo. And in no crab, there is Surana Jubumbo. Bema to Namaria Kate, yeah, or Yaridomoa, and in Namsumo, Isaiah, dear Sadia Kate, and Unagana Menina. Yes, so Vera said, or Maggie and Fury, a rain. He say, you phobia. Camophobia, a chance of my yeah, Buasa, Yabayesu, Yamana Mazura, Emrati, Nachi, free Yamani. What do we have more for? Any other for? Otto Yeche, Emma Omenina, and think I am Ratuno, Yenakayamu, Yeno. Tell you why I resign, son of Organa, I swear. Ye free, yare free so asawa moya eja ebu afosa abadu maya ko yankoto dwanim isu afosa brabechie na wukuto na betima gie fi sa wo hawo yimu ye coronavirus yare yede wadi aya ya wadi asa edim die nyina kopim eja de nyansa nyina ye nesu nyina nye yo nesu sa ubamwa ebetuma ye enti sare okana maiso ye free yari wo imwa sawa moya eja ye bu afosa kana magina risufremo kaiye nyaba yesu ebradi nachi ye free yamani eja wakano osemuse samima obomidi wo suono osafri wakwa bone wo Bamiera Dichaya and you answer. Obe free through now what ye was I assassin yare? It in a garaman in a risufre. Yes, I found in a risufre. Yeah, radie Ejakaye Naji free Yari mo. Yeah, Aye, Yaba Yesui, Ebrade, Nachi every Yamani, Uwe, Kaye, Yaba Yesui, Ebrade, Nachi every Yamani, it's happening, it's happening, Yaba Yesui, Ebrade. Nachi every yamani Kaye Yaba Yesui Ebrade Nachi every Uframisa Nyakubawa Ave Manidi Wahini Ajanimio Najanimia Uframisa Nyakubawa Ave Manidi Wahini China for sorry, I was a Buddha. India for sorry, I was a Hindu. I fed up on in there to the moon for the Mabusum one way. India for sorry, I was a Hindu. China for sorry, I was a Buddha. I fed up on in there for the Mabusum one way. I found so for a cast me and when you're dear to Mono. I found for a TV, so I'm with Manu. Coronavirus never know. No go solution, maybe I sing it. I would say you are so powerful. I've asked for a money to move someone more dumb baby or my mono. Won't be a man up one day. Woman, I may ask all in a coronavirus and man in I am coronavirus and as a fool in I come. I go and see a baby as and yet you come over, rather some come and be in a door. Yamin Mamma Bayo. can what a man in a Aradia can was taking the woman, you're singing and so your young Ponti Musono. Samojan and Imojamda Sajanimio Najanimia Najanimio Najanimia Mufram is a Nangopoa, a very many dear one, many dear one in Najanimio Najanimia Mufram is a Nangopoa, a very many dear one in Esaba Manano Ibolaba, Manyano Wadro, Afe coronavirus, Nambano, Christopher Jim Bible. But Esaba, Yano Wadro, Ibolaba, Yano Wadro, Afe coronavirus, Nambano, Christopher Jim Bible. Abuana Gupano, Masam, Namudia, Sinjanian, Namusu said, Ubafamu Wediana, and this Ajanimia. Mufra misanya kupoma afi many die wa usaranya kupoma janemia janemia Mufra misanya kupoma afi many die wa yinya janemia janemia Mufra misanya kupoma afi many die wa yinya janemia a very many dear one. A very many dear one.